1 year ago, I went on a GLP-1 weight loss medication. I have lost a ton of weight, but more importantly, I'm healthier and I'm feeling fantastic, which is what I'd hoped for. There was also a lot I wasn't expecting. Other people's reactions to my weight loss, as well as my own kind of complicated internal reactions to it. Today, I'll share my experience and some of the surprising mental and social side effects to a body transformation like this. Okay, first of all, the mandatory disclaimer, I am not a medical practitioner. These are my personal experiences. Please consult your doctor on any weight loss medication or health-related decisions. First, a little background on why I went on the weight loss drug. I've always been really active. I'm one of those weirdos who loves going to the gym. I have done endurance events. I ran a half marathon a couple years ago. I did this bike ride between San Francisco and LA a couple years ago. Lots of training, lots of prep work for that. So I just really love being fit. However, I also really like to snack and I have a really major salty/sweet tooth. So I've had weight loss attempts in the past and getting healthier attempts in the past, but they have not been really successful. I've got a not so great family history when it comes to health related things. I've had my blood work done, of course, and over the years, things have kind of crept up and up. I recently went on a high blood pressure medication that I'm not really thrilled about, so I knew I needed to make a change, and regular diets were just not working for me, which is a pretty common story. So last October, in consultation with my doctor, I decided to go on a GLP-1 medication, Zepbound, which is a weekly injection. In addition to going on the medication, I decided that this was my opportunity to make some lifestyle choices that I knew I needed to make. So I focused on keeping to my regular gym schedule, eating healthy protein, getting lots of fruits and vegetables, eliminating processed foods, all that advice that we know that we should be doing, but that's really hard to do. The results have been exactly what I was hoping for. My blood work numbers are all really great. I'm in the process of getting off my blood pressure medication. I got knocked down to half the dose a couple months ago, and I'm hoping next month, next time I visit my doctor, I'll be able to get off the medication. And I've also lost a whole bunch of weight. When I got on the medication back in October of last year, I was around 235 pounds. And then about 6 to 8 months later, I was around 175 pounds. So I lost around 60. I had to check in with my doctor because I didn't really have a perspective around where I should be stopping. He took a look at my numbers and said, "You're good at 175." So I've been trying to maintain that weight ever since. All those changes were exactly what I was hoping for. Better blood work, getting off the blood pressure medication, even the weight loss I was not mad about. But the physical side was really only part of the story. Some of the most surprising changes that I was not expecting were around the reactions from other people. After a few months of being on the weight loss medication, I noticed that when I would run into someone, especially someone that I had not seen in a long time, they would have this look on their face of shock. And more often than not, they would have some sort of reaction, just like "you're skinny." "You're skinny" didn't really come across as a compliment, more as an expression of shock or surprise at my new presence. And I think the reason it took me aback was because I was so focused on the weight loss medication as a path towards health as opposed to my goal of getting skinny. The other thing that really took me by surprise was people literally not recognizing me. I did this weight loss over the course of a winter from October through February, March, April, and I live in Chicago, so sometimes people are not as much out and about in the world. And when I ran into folks in the springtime, whether it was at a party or a friend's house, if they hadn't seen me in a while, I could just immediately tell they had this look on their face as I was talking to them like, "Who the hell are you?" People literally did not recognize me. And if it had only happened once or twice, that might have been kind of oh, I could chalk it up to just people being people. But it happened at least 30 or 40 times over the course of the summer where I would encounter someone I hadn't seen in a while. I'd start talking to them, start laughing, and I would just look in their eyes and I would be like, yeah, they don't really know who I am. So I'd have to make a reference to, something we had shared, a memory, a mutual friend or something like that. And then I would slowly see them. oh, and then they would be like, oh yeah, you're skinny. So the cycle continued. Then the other reaction that was kind of surprising to me was after I'd talked to the person for a while, told them a little about what I was doing, they'd often have questions. They'd see like, oh, how'd you lose it? And it's 2025, so people can just assume that, a GLP-1 drug was involved. So I'd tell them, yeah, I took Zepbound. It's been a great experience, et cetera, et cetera. And from some people, not the majority, but from some people, I could sense a little bit of perhaps sort of judgment about like, oh, okay, or disappointment. You took a weight loss drug. Okay. And I think that's a pretty common reaction, like as if you're cheating the system by not like going through the hard work of doing weight loss all by yourself. And I just have to say, I think that is crap. I think that is not my experience. That is not the experience of a lot of people who've gone on these drugs. The shots that I took affected my physiology. They did not affect my psychology. They were impacting my body. And this was a medical intervention that I decided to take to make improvements to my health and well-being. There's actually a really interesting article in Psychology Today that I read about is, weight loss drugs cheating? I'll link to that in the description. And there was another complicated set of reactions that I needed to navigate. And this comes from the community that I interact in. I have a lot of very body positive and fat positive friends in the queer community and beyond. And I think that for some, they didn't really know how to react to me being a smaller person. Let me first of all say, I loved my bigger body. I loved being big. I was very comfortable in it. This was a health intervention for me. So I think some people didn't really know how to react. Are you part of our community still? Are you still with us? Does this change who you are? Does this change your relationship to, socializing or anything like that? For me, it does not, but I could see that question on some people's face. Aside from the sort of social and community reactions that I was dealing with, I also had to deal with my own reactions to this weight loss. First of all, were the physical. I literally lost 60 pounds of fat. So I'm now cold all the time. All that fat was quite the insulator for me. So as we're heading into winter in Chicago, 2025, I am bundling up because it's a chilly one out there. The good side is that I actually sweat a lot less, I think, because I'm not carrying all that fat on me. So I'm typically in the summertime, especially on a humid day, just a drenched, sweaty mess. But over the course of this summer, I gotta say, it was a very, very comfortable summer. Still sweaty, still hot, but so much more manageable than when I was carrying all that extra weight. The other thing about the physical aspect of it is just looking in the mirror and not recognizing myself. I can see how some other people might not have recognized me because, I look at my face and I see it's like, okay, it's not quite as full here as I thought. And then, oh, and my arms are like a little bit veiny and stuff, especially as I'm going to the gym, which is interesting. I don't know. I can see like bones, like, oh, I got clavicles now. Is that normal? I literally was like Googling, like, is it normal to see clavicles? And had to like check with myself to make sure that I wasn't losing it a little bit around that. And then, there's the Ozempic butt, which is a real thing. I lost a bunch of weight all over and I lost it in my butt. So over the last couple of months, me and the squat rack and the deadlift machine and the hip thrust machine have become really, really good friends as I'm trying to combat all that. Aside from all the physical adjustments that I needed to make with my new body, I needed to do a lot of mental recalibration as well. As I said before, sometimes when people reacted to my change in weight, they would say, oh, you're so skinny. And my knee-jerk reaction was to say, oh gosh, yeah, I know, I'm so sorry, which is such a Midwestern reaction to sort of apologize for something because you maybe surprised someone or did something that they weren't expecting. And that's also a bunch of garbage. I did this because I wanted to be healthier. I did this very intentionally. So I thought to myself, what am I doing apologizing for this? I had to make a really conscious effort to figure out, okay, I'm getting this reaction all the time. What am I going to do, and how am I going to approach this when people say like, oh, you're skinny, or have some sort of reaction like that? What I decided was to sort of flip the script, and my response when people would say, oh, you're skinny, I'd be like, yeah, I am fit as fuck and I am feeling fantastic. First of all, I do love a little bit of alliteration, but second of all, it disarmed people. It sort of took their sort of comment that I wasn't sure how to place, and I reframed it into a compliment. Like, yeah, thank you. Thank you for noticing. And then also flipping it so that I'm not talking about what I look like, but I'm talking about the health and the well-being aspect of it. I am feeling fantastic. So I found that was a really empowering way to respond to a message that I didn't necessarily always take as a compliment. I think that anytime people see a change in someone that they know, whether that's a physical change like with weight loss, or even a change in attitude or goals or things in their life, there can be a moment of resistance that comes up. I think that resistance might come from other people, but it can also come from yourself. You get used to the idea of who you are and who other people are, and change can be difficult to navigate. I think sort of mentally letting go of the heavy version of me was in some ways harder than losing the actual weight itself. This actually reminds me of a passage I read in a book, totally on a different subject. This is The War of Art, Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles. It's by Stephen Pressfield. It's a really great book about basically becoming and developing yourself as an artist or a creative person. I read this a few months ago, and there's a passage in here that as I've been going through my weight loss journey, really hit home for me. This is in the chapter called Resistance Recruits Allies. Often couples or close friends, even entire families, will enter into tacit compacts whereby each individual pledges, unconsciously, to remain mired in the same slough in which she and all her cronies have become so comfortable. The highest treason a crab can commit is to make a leap for the rim of the bucket. I don't think that everyone who reacts to a change that you're making necessarily is trying to pull you back into that crab bucket, but I do think it's worth thinking about, who you are, what your goals are, and being strong in your convictions about the kind of changes you're attempting to make in your life, and being strong in those. If someone you know is on a weight loss journey, I think my main piece of advice would be to be a kind human. Think about what your reaction is, if you're going to react, if you're going to say anything before opening your mouth. And if you do, then saying something like, hey, you look great, or you look really happy, or even it's really great to see you, is fantastic. And what that does is it opens the door to the other person if they want to share something about their journey, and gives them agency if they don't. If you're the one losing weight, then my advice is the same. Be kind to yourself. The physical part is just one aspect of it. There is a whole mental journey that you're on that is just as important, and maybe even a little bit harder. Have confidence in yourself and be prepared. The physical part is just the beginning. The results I've had with my weight loss and my health on this GLP-1 journey have been fantastic. I would absolutely recommend it to anyone in consultation with their doctor if you are looking to improve your numbers, your weight, etc. Just know that the real journey is the mental and social one. Good luck, keep moving forward, and thanks for watching.